Hi, today I'm going to be going over the instructor presentation for my copyright assignment. This is going to be going over the Assure model. So we're going to take a look at the Assure model. The Assure model has 6 components to it. The first thing that we're going to be looking at is analyzing our learners. Next is state standards and objectives. Next, select strategies and resources, utilize resources, require learner participation, and to evaluate and revise, which today we're just going to be looking at evaluating. We're going to be looking at the first component, which is analyzing learners. When we look at the general characteristics, first of all, we're going to be looking at students who are in between 3rd and 5th grade, between the ages of 8 to 10 years old. The majority of the students have an ethnic background of being Hispanic, low to middle income family homes. Their reading levels range from 1st grade to on grade level, and there are some special education students within the classroom. When we look at the specific entry competencies, students do not have prior knowledge about this topic. This will be the first time that they are discussing copyright. Students will have the background knowledge on technology being used, which they're going to be using their Chromebooks. They're going to be using the internet, and they're going to be using an application called Seesaw. When we look at learning differences and needs, we're going to be looking at more of the body kinesthetic, the moving around. We are going to be looking at also there being special education students in the classroom that are going to require some teacher assistance to help with reading. Now we're going to be looking at the first S in the Assure model, which is state standards and objectives. Copyright falls under digital citizenship, which is the student practices safe, responsible, legal, and ethical behavior while using digital tools and resources. The student is expected to abide by copyright law and fair use guidelines for educational and multimedia. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the technology standards, where students demonstrate an understanding and respect for the rights and obligations of using and sharing intellectual property. Our learning objectives for the lesson. The student will demonstrate their knowledge of copyright rules. The students will be working in groups identifying different examples to see if they are breaking copyright law, and the students will also be identifying works that are examples of copyrighted work. Now we're looking at the next S in the Assure model, which is to select strategies and resources. For the instructional strategies, the teacher will introduce the topic of copyright by showing a PowerPoint. The teacher will then facilitate a conversation and have the students participate in a turn and talk activity to share and discuss the information that they learned. The students will then be working in groups in an online teacher-developed activity through Seesaw. As far as resources, the students will be using their Chromebooks and an online application called Seesaw, and the students will be working in groups in order to assist each other. When we look at utilizing resources, this is the U in the Assure model, we're going to be looking at previewing the resources. The students have used Chromebooks and Seesaw before and are comfortable using the application. Preparing the resources. The teacher will have already prepared the PowerPoint that was used to introduce the topic. The teacher will also create a one-page cheat sheet with information that was discussed in the PowerPoint so that the students can go back and refer to that instead of having to go back and forth between Seesaw and the PowerPoint. Preparing the environment. The lesson will take place in the library. The library has tables for the students to sit and watch the PowerPoint. Then the students will be able to move to another location in order to complete the group activity comfortably. Preparing the students. The teacher will review the learning objectives before the start of the lesson and then remind the students on the student expectations while they are completing their assignments in the library. Providing learning experiences. The teacher will guide the students during the assignment if needed and review the cheat sheet notes with the students and answer questions as needed. Now we're going to be looking at the R in the Assure model, which is requiring learner participation. When we look at student practice, the students will be working together discussing which works are protected by copyright law. The students will then sort their responses in Seesaw on the activity that was created by the teacher. The students will then look at some scenarios to determine if they are considered a violation of copyright law. The students will record their answers in Seesaw. The teacher will then provide individual feedback on their responses in Seesaw. The students will then receive a response on the activity rubric that will be returned back to them. Lastly, we will be looking at the E in the Assure model, which is to evaluate. Within the rubric, we will be looking at understanding of works that are covered in the copyright law. Next, we're going to be looking at some different scenarios and determining whether the students are able to determine if it is a violation of copyright law. And last, we're going to be looking at teamwork. So within the rubric, these are the things that we're going to be looking at, and the students will be graded accordingly. Thank you for your time.